Well, welcome to another Friday night. We're continuing our little series around fawning, and today I want to look at how some people who are fawners use money as a big part of how they fawn. Last time we looked at how some people use sex as a big part of how they fawn. And so I want to really dig into this because, again, for many people, they just think they're being generous. They think that that's who they are, is very generous, and there might be a part of them that is a very generous person. But what happens for many people is they cross from healthy generosity to unhealthy fawning without even realizing it. And they get validated for both. And it can do so much damage. And so people that basically use money as a way of fawning are using money as a way to buy safety, to buy approval, to buy belonging, acceptance, respect. They're doing it to prevent conflict, rejection, abandonment. So money becomes the pathway to try to get all of their needs met. That is really what is happening. So again, let's begin by trying to understand kind of how this develops, how it works. So we've seen that underneath all of fawning is deep fear. So a fawner might look very confident, very happy, very at peace, but they are driven at a subconscious level by a deep fear that their needs will not be met, that they're not good enough to be noticed. That's why they're being neglected and abused. And therefore, their needs are not going to be met. So the only way they can get their needs met is if they earn it. If they find something that gets them validation, gets them attention, gets them to get people to like them, then they will get their needs met. But if they're just authentic, they will be rejected. They will not be loved. They will be left, and it'll be a miserable life. And so fawning is the only path to getting their needs met. And so every child then looks for ways to try to find a ticket to love. So some find their body, sex, their brains, some find money. And money becomes the way to get noticed, to get respect, and then that results in getting their needs met. So money becomes the pathway to all of their key emotional needs, getting love, validation, respect, security, acceptance. It also can get them safety. It also can prevent conflict, prevent all kinds of things as well. So again, to a child, the math in their head is the only way to get all of these good things and prevent all of these bad things is through the doorway of money. There's no other way to get to all of these good things and prevent all of these bad things. So I need to be good at money. I need to get lots of it or become very generous, learn how to use it, learn how to use it to gain power, to manipulate people, to get people to like me, to get people to respect me, to get validation. Money becomes their thing. Money becomes what they're good at. And sadly, it gets them tons of validation. People look up to them. People respect them. People validate them and give them all kinds of praise and even set them on a pedestal. And so what typically happens is for many people who use money as fawning, then they begin to become what you would call overgivers. So you can't just give money, you got to overgive. You got to prove your love, your greatness, you got to really earn it. And so they give to the point where it starts to hurt them. It starts to hurt those that they love, their children, their family, those closest to them. But they can't stop themselves because they need the validation from others from all of that. So it's important to understand, I think at this point, the difference between healthy generosity and fawning, unhealthy giving of money. So in healthy generosity, a person, they see a need, and they sit down and they think it through. They make a choice that weighs out many factors, but they feel free to be able to say no or yes. So they basically say, I can't meet all needs. My priority needs are the needs of my children, my family, these responsibilities, the bills that I have. I'm trying to live a simple, responsible life and have some money available to help others. That's the way I want to live my life, but I can't meet all the needs of the world. So I need to think through the needs that I meet, and they weigh it out. And they say yes to some, no to others, and they are okay with that. This isn't about getting validation or approval or getting people to like them. This is about, I have a full cup. My needs are met. I am in a place where I have more than I need. Now I just want to help others. And I'm not doing it with any ulterior motive of getting validation or being put on a pedestal. The unhealthy, the fawning, is my cup is empty. I don't feel good about myself. I need people to like me. Therefore, I have to give. I have to use my money to get people to give me praise, to get people to give me validation, to get people to respect me. So when there's a need, I can't say no, even though it might mean saying no to my children, even though it might mean hurting my family. I have to give. That's the only way to get the love and validation I need, because my cup is empty. So their ability to say no is gone. Self-agency is gone. They are now controlled by this haunting shame deep inside. So healthy generosity, freely chosen, respects limits, includes reciprocity or mutual appreciation, and it does not create resentment or depletion. Fawning, though, is fear-driven. It overrides self-protection. It creates silent contracts, and it leads to burnout, resentment, or financial harm. So hopefully that helps you. So here's a statement that might add some clarity. The journey of unfawning is about tuning less into outward applause and more into inner alignment. So the person that uses money to fawn, they're attuned to outward applause. I got to give because it's the only way to get outward applause, which is the only way to feel good about myself. That's their main motivator, is getting the external applause. Whereas healthy generosity, it's not about external applause. It's, does this line up with my values? Does this line up with making sure all the other needs are met appropriately? And so when a person starts healing from shame, that empty cup starts to fill up. When they learn to meet their 12 needs consistently, that cup gets full. So their needs are already being met. So now when they give, it's not to try to get their needs met, because their needs are already met. It's the overflow of that having taken place. Whereas a person controlled by shame is constantly needing to keep giving and giving in order to try to get their needs met. So you might ask, okay, how do I know if I'm just a generous person in a healthy way versus fawning with money? So let me give you some indicators. Number one, you experience anxiety or panic at the idea of somebody being disappointed about the money you've given them. So you might be able to only give them $5. Now you're feeling anxiety. Are they going to be okay with that? Then you feel guilt when you don't give in certain situations, when you don't lend somebody money. Even though it might cause harm to yourself, you still feel guilty for saying no. Or you feel relief after spending money on others because it takes the anxiety away. It takes the internal tension away. So you just paid everybody's bill at the restaurant and you feel so good, so much relief, even though now you can't pay your own bills. But it took temporarily the internal pressure away. Then your self-worth is tied to your financial usefulness or generosity. So you always need to be seen as generous and giving in order to feel good about yourself. Shame or fear around having financial needs or limits is what you experience. So if you all of a sudden realize, wow, I'm really running out of money, I'm in a tight situation here, I don't have money to give, I might have to say no, you feel fear, you feel shame. You say yes to paying, to lending, or gifting before you even check the price of stuff. You say, oh yeah, I'll pay for it, I'll take care of it. You just are quick to run in and cover and pay for stuff without thinking it through. You have difficulty saying no to financial requests. So somebody comes to you, can you lend me $20? And it's the hardest thing for you to say no. You agree to a financial arrangements even though they feel unfair to you. They benefit the other more than you, but you still agree to them. You feel trapped within certain relationships that you have to pay the bills. If you go out to eat, you have to cover it. If there's an expense that comes up, you have to pay for it. And you don't feel you can say anything about it. You feel trapped and you feel some resentment, but you don't say anything. And then often you'll catch thinking patterns in your brain, which is, if I don't help financially, people will see me as selfish. I owe them because they're struggling. Or money's just how I show love. Or if I stop giving, then the relationship will fall apart because they won't need me and they'll just move on to somebody else. Or it's easier to pay than to deal with all of the anger if I say no. Those are some of the thoughts that you might have. And then another characteristic is just that you catch yourself overgiving. So you pay for other people's meals, for trips, for expenses by default. It's not 50-50. There's no reciprocity. It's just you're the one that is asked and expected to pay, and you do it. You lend money without clear terms on how it's going to be paid back, interest, all of those things. And so you end up covering for other people's financial irresponsibility. So they waste their money, they can't pay their rent, they can't buy groceries for their kids, but you bail them out repeatedly. And then there's what we call preemptive giving, and that is if you sense somebody's really angry, you give them money to calm them down. You give them money to get them happy, to keep them from being disappointed. If you sense your child is withdrawing a little bit, you give them money to make them feel warm and loving to you again. So you're doing stuff before disaster strikes to try to prevent it. It's not the healthy way to solve the problem, but it seems to work in the short term. And then if you've got a difficult conversation you need to have with your spouse, with a close friend, that's going to be very uncomfortable emotionally, sometimes you give them money first. And that will just help the conversation go smoothly or better or the way that you want it. So all of that leads to financial self-neglect. So you're taking care of everybody else financially, but you begin to undermine your own savings, your own retirement, your own personal goals. You take on debt in order to maintain relationships. And you're going more and more into debt and adding to your own financial stress, but then you minimize your own financial stress. Oh, it's not a big deal, I'll get it paid for somehow. That becomes part of your life. And then there's unequal exchanges all the time, so that you are always getting the short end of the stick. You're always the one that's taking the brunt of the financial trouble in order to stabilize the relationship, in order to help people out. So your value as a person is not based on who you are. It's based on what you provide financially. That's why people look up to you. That's why people want a relationship with you. That's why people adore you, because you're a free ATM machine and they know it. So, don't know if this applies to you, but if it does, what I again hope you realize is the solution is not to go out and just stop financial fawning, though there's going to be an element of that. There's a core shame issue here where shame is at the core of you, and using money was a way to try to solve the shame. And so until you deal with the shame and heal it, your brain is still going to want to use money to feel better about yourself and to get your needs met. Again, I hope this is helpful. Hope this is really helping you realize what fawning is like in your life. And it might be a bit overwhelming, but I hope that it'll begin to paint the path forward into healing for you.